Another thing that I value as well, like when looking at another country to live in, is accessibility. Do I have access, to mountains? Do I have access to a beach? Do I have access to food? Do I have access to gyms? Do I have access to, all the things that are important to me? And where are these things located in terms of where I would like to live? Because it is really nice to wake up and decide, oh, I would like to go do this today. Well, is that available in the country which you live in? And the limiting factor again is the weather in Canada, and everything is really far away in Canada, so it's sort of difficult to have access to certain things. And I would say the accessibility to food, although there's a shit ton of grocery stores in Canada, that's true in restaurants. I feel like there's more access to food in Colombia. And I found the same thing in Thailand. Like, dude, like you go anywhere in Thailand or in Colombia, there's food there. Like anywhere. You go to a park, there's food there. There isn't food in parks in Canada, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But or you go to the beach here, like just literally anywhere you go, there's someone cooking food or someone making food, or just the access to food is incredible in these countries.
Well, but so when you say like, I get what you mean by access to food, but do you also are you also inherently meaning like certain type, like good quality food, so to speak, like, like fresher stuff? Because I know in Canada and America, even in Australia, like, there's access to fast food in most, like any town or city really that has a, certain population. There's always going to be a fast food or whatever you can always pop into. But you're talking more about like, local produce style stuff and sort of artisans that are sort of having this and preparing it. Is that kind of what you mean, or do you mean a bit?
I do mean a little bit of that, yeah. But I also mean, like in Canada, there are restaurants, there are like places where they have restaurants, and then there's a place where they have
business,
a grocery store, right? But like in between those, like you don't really see like a lot of these family owned places anymore. Like they still exist, obviously, but we're seeing more and more. It's like franchises. Like, for example, Boston Pizza is huge in Canada, and I have no idea why. The food is fucking trash, but it's huge. And Canadians love Boston Pizza. So, I mean, like in terms of that, like there's more family owned places, and just you can get food like as soon as you step out of your door. There's just more options, and I wouldn't say that there's more fresh food here, because Canada does an incredible, like they're incredible at importing things, and the access to like fresh produce and fresh meat is outstanding, but it's not better than it is in Colombia, right? And in Colombia, you can go get shit directly from a farm. Like it's easier to do that. Like you can still do that in Canada, but I just feel it's just easier for some reason. I just feel like it's more accessible here. It's hard to explain.
No, I agree with you. So you sort of touched on an interesting thing. You said like they've got places where there's food, then you've got supermarkets in Canada. One thing that's interesting that I sort of been observing is the hollowing out of family owned or more small businesses in Western countries. And I haven't tried to observe it elsewhere, so it might be happening in other countries. But like if you think back, 15, 20 years ago, there's like even 10 years ago, there was more sort of like, mom and pop shops or like local family restaurants or food places. Whereas now they're sort of disappearing and dying, especially after COVID. We saw the closure of a lot of these types of businesses. And people are definitely going more towards these sort of multinational or franchise-based businesses. And it's an interesting sort of change to observe in certain types of countries. And I think that's something for me, especially, that I'm mindful of when trying to identify somewhere that I would like to live. Because I, like you, I want the space for people who are passionate or have skills in a certain thing to be able to do that and it be financially viable for them. Whereas I think that certain countries with certain governments and certain ruling structures, that's becoming harder and harder to do.